guys, guess what? We're doing it. We're doing a podcast and on one of my favorite films of all time, Warcraft.
Waterworld. Oh.
Well, oh, wait. Did I show up to the wrong podcast today?
No, that one will be reserved for the future. That'll be the same episode as this one, but for Vince's favorite show, like that.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. We're just building up the excitement. One episode after the next. You're never going to know. And then all of a sudden one day we'll just drop it and everyone will be so excited. I'll be so excited.
I actually have it on my list of movies I want to watch before my movie challenge is over. So maybe we should do it next
Where are
time.
you at on that?
After. Huh?
Where are you at on that?
So today is day number 23.
Dang, it's been 23 days already since you started that. I swear, you just barely told us about it. It's almost been a month already.
Yeah, it's how it feels too. Like some days it feels like I've been watching movies for years is how it feels. And then other days I'm like, this has only been going on for a couple weeks, couple days. I don't know. I'm just kind of like here and there. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like getting on with it. Like, yeah, I'm just scrolling down to days. I've watched actually 3 movies in 24 hours.
Oh my.
So,
what were they?
So yesterday we watched Spotlight. Then we watched Annabelle Creation. And then today I watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And then right now I'm also halfway through with Solo, a Star Wars story.
Nice, man. 4 movies in 24 hours?
Yeah, solid. I'm an hour through. Well, I'm just not watching like because I at work I have a little bit of time. I shouldn't say this, but I have a little bit of time to do stuff throughout the day, and instead of doing it some of these, I'll be honest with you, I do them as a background filler type thing because I've watched them enough. I can remember them really well. Like Solo, I've watched 6 times, so it's just kind of fun. I don't know, it's crazy.
I take it back. Josh isn't living the dream. You're the one living the dream.
It's got these Crustables and Coke beat. But yeah, it's tons of fun. But how have you guys been? What's been going on with you guys? Anything new, exciting, fun going down?
I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff that was going on. I went to one of my coworkers had a pizza party at their house yesterday. They had this they built this pizza oven in their backyard, and they invited us over, and I went, and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go over, they're gonna make some pizzas, it's gonna be really good. But oh my goodness, this pizza was freaking delicious. And it wasn't my coworker who made it, it was my coworker's wife, and I was just I thanked her a million times before I left, because that was some of the best pizza I've ever eaten. It was super
wow,
pretty fun. So
shiny endorsement.
Besides that, yeah, there you go, endorsement for I should remember her name's Pizza.
Well, nice. What about you, Vince?
I'm actually house sitting for the next week for my little sister. So they're gone on vacation visiting her husband's family. They're going to some lake, got a couple of houseboats, so they're gone to California for a week. And so I am here taking care of her chickens and her ferret and her little pug, and just kind of hanging out here. It's kind of nice. Got the whole place to myself, kind of empty. I used to live in this house for a while back, and it's kind of cool to be back in the basement again. Right back where it started up here in Utah Valley.
Heck yeah, man. I remember when you lived there and coming over a few times and watching movies and kicking it, and that's been a long time now.
Yeah, it's a nice little house. So it'll be interesting. Chickens. I've never taken care of chickens before. I asked her, I sent her a text after she got off the plane, and I'm like, what kind of stuff do I need to do? I don't really know how to take care of some of these animals. And one of the things she said was Bernard's the pug. She's like, make sure he gets water and food, which of course I know. And then she says, grab eggs from the chickens every day and tell them you love them when you wake up at dawn and go out to visit them. That was one of the most important things. I'm supposed to tell them that I love them when I go out to get their eggs.
If you don't, they're not gonna lay the eggs anymore.
I feel that's like a super solid, like, tell them you love them once you take their eggs away because they're giving you such good life.
Yeah. They got so many eggs here. You open up their fridge and it's just like the whole door is just eggs and eggs and eggs. They can't keep up with the amount of eggs these chickens are laying.
Wait,
So
really?
if you guys need some, she's been trying to give them away for the last few months.
Jeez,
Oh,
free
man.
eggs. Where have I been?
Yeah.
I love me some eggs, man. I would like make you some cookies or something if I can get some. Maybe I'll come snag some from you.
Well, this
But
morning I had 2 eggs and a cheese sandwich. It was good.
That's awesome.
ooh. Have you ever Okay, guys, before we get going to
Uh-oh.
this podcast, here's a fun food thing to try, okay? Just take my word for it. It's a grilled cheese egg sandwich.
That's pretty much what I had today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I took
So,
the eggs and I melted the cheese up in it and then I put it between 2 toasty buns.
yeah, you're like right there. So like what I do is I'll like put the butter to the bottom, I'll put the cheese on top of it, right? And then I'll actually flip it over right onto the skillet, like the cheese, and then it like melts and like it like loses a
Ooh,
little bit because it makes like a crispy layer, but you get a lot of it. And then you like stick like a soft boiled egg in the middle, and then you just bite into that, and it's like perfection. It's like
that does sound good.
it's just an egg and a grilled cheese baby. It's delicious.
Very
The
nice.
grilled cheese baby.
Grilled cheese baby. That's rad. That's rad. Well, do you guys have any movie news before we kind of break into talking about like one of my favorite films?
I don't have any news, but I just have to shout out. I finally watched American Graffiti for the first time.
It's a Steven
Yeah,
Spielberg film, right?
no, it's George Lucas's.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah, George Lucas. It's like one of his
Yeah,
early ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like his breakout one. Like he did a bunch of other ones that no one really saw, and then American Graffiti came out, and just everybody went and saw it. So it's like it's been on my my movie list for a long time. I've been wanting to watch it for forever. I just never got around to it. Didn't know where to find it streaming. Blah blah blah. So I found it on I think HBO a couple nights ago, and I was like, oh well, finally I'm gonna watch this, and it's a great little flick. Um, it's like the story is kind of one night. It's kind of like a party movie, you know, like the last day of high school, the last big party, and everyone's going out to just get plastered and make the best of your youth. Except for this party movie, it takes place in 1962, and it feels like a time capsule, you know, like you're
Mhm.
watching it, and it's just like they're cruising Maine, and the gangs are like well dressed with slick hair back, and they've got like their little accents, you know, and like I said, cruising Main Street, picking up chicks and just leaning out your window to talk to people as you go by, and everything just seems like I don't know, just I know it wasn't easier back then, but this movie just made everything just feel like easier and just like simpler. I guess that's the word. Everything just seems simpler, you know? You're just worried about going out, hanging out with your buds, cruising Maine, and meeting girls, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It was fun though. It was like I said, it's like a time capsule to see like how people spent their nights back then. You know, they didn't really have the big clubs to go party in. They had the hop down at the school, which is like the school dance, and then there's like really famous actors in there like Harrison Ford and Ron Howard, and they're just babies in it. They're just baby brand new actors, you know. So it's great. I was texting my dad about it the whole time, just like, man, that looks like a fun place to grow up, you know? Looks like a fun time. Like I said, I know that there was some it wasn't a fun time for everybody, and I don't know. It was just the movie made it look great, and it just made things look simple, and it just made things look fun, and I just kind of pined for that like era a little bit of just like the simplicity of no big technology, and just hanging out with your buds, enjoying it.
Yeah,
So I don't know, it was good. I really liked it. It was really fun.
that is rad. You and I kind of grew up in like the time when like technology kind of rose, and so like I can still remember my dad getting his first cell phone type thing, and like going
Mhm.
from never knowing where my dad is to always being like, oh, I have a lifeline to calling him all the time. I don't
Yeah,
know, like I remember that.
And so I was
That's
yeah.
like just
crazy.
a little past that when I was growing up. The first ones that I remember is that everyone had the big old flip phones, and that was the main thing that was going on when I was a kid. And so just seeing the evolution, even just from then, from the flip phone to the smartphone now, it's like super crazy.
Mhm.
Um,
When
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say when we were in high school, it was a big fight with our parents to get the unlimited text messaging. That's the big thing. We
Oh
Yeah.
all were
yeah,
getting cell phones, but our parents were always like, "That's such a waste of money. Why would you ever want to text somebody? It's like an extra $25 a month. Just call them."
yeah.
Like,
And you had
no, we
like,
have to have text messaging.
and if not, you had like 200 texts for like an entire month or something, and you're
Yeah,
like, I
And
can't do it.
160 characters on top
yeah,
of that, right?
it was ridiculous. So all of us, me and all my friends, like we were all paying our own little text package bundles,
Milk.
spending half of our high school paychecks on text messaging.
That was the
If
thing,
you want a fun follow up to that film, you should watch Secondhand Lions.
Oh yeah,
I
I've
don't know
seen
if you've
it.
seen that
It's
movie,
good.
but that one like reminds me of the same type of vibe, like kind of like it's just kind of got that old timey feel where it's like two old men sitting on a porch and their grandnephew or whatever he is, and just
Hmm.
life in a different time, which I sometimes get
Hmm.
a little envious of. I'm kind of like you
Yeah.
said, looks simpler, looks nice, and I mean they still put steak on people's eyes back in the day, so I mean that looks like fun.
there you go. I've been watching a lot of stuff recently. Jaleesa's out of town right now, so I'm just chilling with my dog this weekend and just watching a lot of stuff. So recently I started watching The Good Doctor, which is
Mm.
super good. I don't know if you guys have seen it all. It's like a story about a doctor, like a new resident to a hospital who has autism, but he also has like, I don't know if it's savant or savant syndrome. So he has like almost perfect recall of all of his like medical textbooks and amazing spatial recognition, so he can know stuff that's going on. It's super super interesting. So I've been watching that lately. I'm still in the first season, but I'm kind of flying through it. And then the
Cool.
other thing that I'm watching that on Hulu. On Netflix just recently they put up The Last Dance, the freaking Michael Jordan documentary, and I've been cruising through that.
Oh.
It is so good. Like when they were airing it on ESPN, because they aired it on ESPN
Hmm.
first, because ESPN and Netflix made it together. Um, Everyone, all the athletes were talking about it and everything, but I just, Sunday nights, I didn't really have the time to sit down in front of ESPN to watch a documentary with commercials and stuff. So now that it's on Netflix, I'm flying through it and it is so good. It's super interesting just to see all of the dynamics that went through not only his whole career, but specifically their last season, that 97-98 season. It's just incredible. Really good. And then finally, last night, I went over to a buddy's house and he's like, hey, man, we should watch this. It was a Cade. We've had Cade on the podcast before. And he's like, we should watch this. And I was like, okay, I've never seen this. I've never heard of it. And we watched the movie Jumper. Have you guys seen Jumper?
Hmm.
Hmm.
It came out in 2008. It's got Hayden Christensen, Jamie Bell, Rachel Bilson, Samuel Jackson. It's just like about these dudes. You can just like basically like teleport on site, but there's like all of this like stuff between the people who teleport and the people who don't teleport.
Oh,
It's like
I
it
know
was
this
pretty
movie.
crazy. And there was just like a lot of I had never even heard of it, and I was like, it's pretty crazy. Definitely a ton of plot holes, a ton of like really like what the heck is happening moments. But I mean, overall, it's just like sort of like that fun late 2000s vibe like action film, like it was what it was. And for 2008, like there was obviously a lot of times where I was like, the freak is going on with that CGI, but I was like, it was 2008, we'll cut him a break. It was pretty good. I liked it. So I've been watching a lot of stuff lately, and that's just kind of like the highlights. There's been a lot of good content coming across.
Cool.
Dude, do you know what? Like when you brought up Jumper, what I just thought of, a film I haven't thought about for probably a decade until like right now.
What?
Wanted. Do you remember that one?
Curve the bullet, man. Curve the bullet.
Yes.
Heck yeah. Wanted was good. Angelina Jolie, freaking Professor X. I can't think of his name right now.
James McAvoy,
James McAvoy. Oh, dude, that was a
Morgan
classic
Freeman,
action
Chris
flick.
Pratt. You got everyone in there.
Whoa, Chris Pratt was in it? I don't remember him being in it.
I did see it. It was definitely a super long time ago. It says he's some guy named Barry.
Barry.
So bringing up Angelina Jolie, I can't wait to see her back in the game again. She's been gone for so long, and she kind of made herself out when I was younger to be kind of the action star. She's in the Tomb Raider movie. She's in Wanted. Now she's going to be in the new Marvel movie. I think she's going to be in Eternals. I think is the one she's coming back for. Oh, and then like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Like she was in such good movies, and then she just kind of went and did her own thing, had her own personal life, and I'm excited to see her come back and be in a movie again. I kind of miss her.
She's been in movies, Vince. Just the
Not for a
movies have
while,
been
right?
Maleficent and Maleficent 2.
Oh, you're right. She was in those ones, wasn't she?
So you weren't missing
I
much, really, though.
didn't see either of those.
Just a pair of very prominent cheekbones. That's what was going on in those movies.
Extremely prominent cheekbones. Oh my goodness.
I completely forgot that those existed. Is that all she's done in the past little while?
That's the only thing I remember her from for the last.
She did Salt, but that was a while ago.
So check her out on IMDb really quick. See if there's anything that I'm missing.
Kung Fu Panda, Maleficent. That's about it in like the last 4 years.
Oh yeah, geez, you're right. From like 2016, or from like, so she did Kung Fu Panda 2 in 2011, and then like Kung Fu Panda 3 in 2016, and besides the Maleficent movies, that's pretty much it.
That's about it.
That's insane.
Well, it'll be fun to have her back.
Yep, she'll be in the Eternals. A lot of good stuff. What have you
I
been
hope they
watching,
do
Kenny?
like a Tomb Raider again, like another Tomb Raider with her, like as like a more mature, like a mom vibe.
Well, they just rebooted the Tomb Raider series, so that probably won't happen.
I feel like that one was a fail.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite either. Speaking of video game movies, though, oh, you see
What?
that transition? Because we're doing a video game movie right now.
Yeah, what video game? What are we talking about here? Warcraft. Oh
For the
gosh.
Horde. Work.
Well,
I can't
There's-
remember all the things. When you clicked on the characters, they used to say funny stuff, and I don't remember them all.
For the Horde. Warcraft. Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about it. I actually have Warcraft 2 on my computer over here. I just haven't booted it up in a while, so.
Oh, dang, still.
And this is where we might possibly run into some tension. I did watch this movie with you guys, but I have never once in my entire life played a World of Warcraft game.
I have never played a World of Warcraft game. I did play
sorry.
Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, though.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah.
Sorry, my bad. I have not played Warcraft in any form.
Gotcha.
So like I did the 1, 2, and 3. I created a World of Warcraft character, played it for like a week or two, and it just like it was hard because I didn't have like good internet. And the time when it launched, that was super key, right? But playing like the 1, 2, and 3 was so much fun. So it's all good, Josh. I can forgive you.
Were you a StarCraft guy? Is that what it was?
I did play StarCraft.
Age
I
of
didn't like. I didn't own. Oh, I did play Age of Empires as well. I didn't own StarCraft like on my home computer, but I would go over to my friend's house and we would all team up and we would play StarCraft. So I did definitely do that. I just never. They didn't play Warcraft, so I never played Warcraft. So
Yeah.
It's fair.
That's what it is.
Well,
we can forgive you.
Well, I remember very vividly the day that World of Warcraft came out, and I was so excited, and I had not followed anything about it. I just knew a new Warcraft game was coming out, and I was so excited, and I went into the store, EB Games. If you guys remember EB Games, it's no longer in America. Um, is it was in so I went up to the mall and I went up into this EB Games and I walked up to it and I picked up the case and looked at the back and found out that I had to pay a monthly fee after buying the game, and I set that game back down and never wanted to play it again. It was the very first like monthly pay to play model that I can remember, and my little 14 or however old self, 16-year-old self was just like, so you expect me to pay $70 or however much it was for the game, and then you want me to pay another $20 a month? No, I'm not doing that. And that was it. I never had the desire to play another Warcraft again after that. Even after the hype, my brother-in-law is super into it. I have a bunch of friends that were super into World of Warcraft, but I just never touched it after that. And I loved Warcraft 3. I absolutely loved Warcraft 3. So my question is this is based on a Warcraft story, right? It's not Warcraft 3 because that's kind of based around at Arthas and his storyline.
Yeah.
Is this based on like Warcraft 1? I don't remember Warcraft 1 and 2 having much of a story.
They didn't have that thick of a storyline, like, to be super honest.
I know there's a whole bunch of books and stuff too. Maybe they pulled some story from the books. So I've got some movie info I can kind of bust out here before we start getting into
I want
it.
to bust out some of that movie. So,
Yep.
just so you know, so the timeline of the Warcraft franchise, this film is largely based off the original game, the one that came in '94,
Okay, so it
before the
did have
world
some
of
story.
Warcraft, called Warcraft Orcs and Humans. So, yeah, so it's
Okay.
based off the first one.
All I really remember about Warcraft 1 was the red mohawk orcs walking around the screen. Anyway, so the
Yeah.
movie was directed by Duncan Jones and written by Duncan Jones and Charles Levitt. It was released June 10th, 2016, with a budget of $160 million. They grossed a worldwide amount of $440 million, making it the highest grossing video game adaptation to date, according to IMDb, of course. So check my facts here. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics hated this movie. They gave it 28. It got a 28% from the critics, and then the audience liked it fairly well. They gave it 76%, and IMDb gave it a 6.8, which I think is fair, personally. Not a perfect movie, but I don't think it was absolutely terrible, rotten movie either.
I think
It
all
was
of
not
those numbers are like
garbage.
fair and like make sense, like where you think
Yeah,
about where they're coming from. Because you know
yeah,
that like a lot of the audience who went to watch it, you know, went and were like, yes, Warcraft, and like went to watch it and they're gonna like it. And you know that there were some critics who were like, are you serious? We're making a Warcraft movie, and they saw it just so they could like mark it rotten on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
yeah,
So I think those are all pretty fair assessments, and not IMDb gave it a low to like medium-ish score. So I think
yeah.
it all
I
makes
agree.
sense.
So the movie is starring Travis Fimmel, Ragnar himself as Anduin Lothar, Paula Patton as Garona, Ben Foster as Medivh, Dominic Cooper as King Lane, Toby Kibble as Duratan, Daniel Wu as Gul'dan, and Ben Schnetzer as Khadgar. Some casting considerations. At one point, Sam Raimi was set to direct the movie, which could have been really, really cool. I think Sam Raimi's great. Coming from that horror background, there's a couple scenes in this that I thought were a little terrifying. Specifically, the scene where is Gul'dan the bad guy, right? The big
Yeah.
like wizard. So specifically, the scene with Gul'dan as he's like talking to the other orc and he's sucking the soul out of that human, and the human's just like being tortured and just getting skinnier and older and skinnier. Like creepy stuff. I can just imagine what Sam Raimi would have came and done with his horror background and making this guy just like scary, you know. But it could have been great. At one point, Johnny Depp was interested in starring in the movie. Did not happen. And then Colin Farrell tried out for the role as the king. What was it? King Lane. but
Yep.
didn't get the role. Ended up going to Dominic Cooper. And I think his wife played a role in this movie too. I think I read somewhere, but I forgot to write it down. So cool, keep it in the family.
Dang, that's a lot of stuff. And maybe I'm crazy and maybe I just don't know him enough. Was I the only person who the first time that you saw, crap, what's his name? Like the Protector Medivh or something? Medivh?
Medivh, yeah.
Medivh? Am I the only person who the first time I saw him, I was like, is that Jared Leto? Like, I just like saw him like the beard and like his face and stuff. Like I was taken aback for a second and I had to look it up. Maybe I'm crazy, but I was just like, what the heck is it threw me for a loop for a second.
No, I've
I mean,
seen Ben Foster, that actor, in other movies, but he's one of those faces where he's like recognizable, but I don't know what from.
right. I felt like there were a lot of people in this film that were like that, where I like saw them and I was like, I swear that I've seen them in something else, but then I looked them up and I couldn't really recognize any of them. So
The
anyway,
most important being Toby Kibble, who played Duratan.
Mhm.
Toby Kibble also plays Koba in the Planet of the Apes movies.
right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like one of those motion capture pros, right up there with Andy Serkis.
Oh, he does a lot of stuff like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because wasn't he in the new Fantastic Four as well?
Uh,
I have
was
to
he?
look it up, but I thought he
What would he have
was.
been?
Let's see, I got him pulled up
Maybe.
here.
Oh, he might have been
So
Doctor
he was
Doom. Maybe.
Victor. Yep, Doctor Doom.
Oh
Victor
man,
Von.
I just try to forget that movie existed. I
Mhm.
It's
hated
not a
that
good
movie.
one, so we
It
don't
was
blame you.
so bad.
I've yet to watch it, but it's on Disney Plus, so I mean, it's there. Maybe I should watch it because I need a bad movie to review.
Don't waste your time, man. It's like there's not. I don't even remember anything being like any like sequences being fun. I just remember just through the whole thing being like, why am I watching this garbage?
He was
And
in
that's
Black
not
Mirror.
on. Oh, he
Sorry.
was. He had the contacts, didn't he?
Yeah, the one with like the weird where you can look backwards and stuff. He's that
Yeah.
one.
Oh, that's one of the best episodes too.
Yeah. Sorry, not to
Dude,
like
this
break
guy's
in.
great.
He's really good. We like this guy. And
So, what do you
definitely he
think?
can work on this.
Well, really quick, did we already bring up who the director was?
Just in passing, just
Yeah,
Duncan
Duncan
Jones is all I
Jones. Do
kind
you
of.
know who Duncan Jones' father is?
I don't.
Do you know, Josh?
Rashida Jones is Duncan's mother.
And then
I mean,
Tommy Lee Jones is his father.
No,
perfect.
it's David. It's David Bowie. David
Wait,
Bowie is
really?
his father.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
That last name
yeah.
threw me for a loop, I guess.
Well,
I was
David Bowie's real last name is Jones.
Mm,
And
Huh.
when he rebranded as Ziggy Stardust, like David Bowie, and became Ziggy Stardust and all of this, it was kind of like, oh, nobody remembered his original name. So, yeah, that's a kind of a fun fact I learned when I was doing some research when I read it. And also, just so you guys know, like this film was the highest grossing like video game adaptation, like you guys are talking about,
Mhm.
but it wasn't here in the United States. The main market
Um,
for this film was China and foreign places. So
that does not surprise me with how popular these types of games are over there. I'll bet that they just ate it up, and also how much they love. Like they seem to love. I shouldn't like generalize, but how much they seem to love those like high action, uh, computer animated blockbuster hits. And it's just Warcraft. Like Warcraft over there is huge.
yeah,
yeah, like
out of like the
Dota and
400,
Warcraft.
out of the 439 million that it made, just barely over 10%, only 47 million was in the US. Normally,
Really.
normally when you have like those numbers, it's usually like for Joker or whatever, like when you hit like a billion or something, usually it's like 4 or 5, like almost half or more is from the US, and then the rest of it is
Mhm.
international. This was like 10% in the US.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know a lot of people who have seen this except for like all my nerd friends. I went and saw this with my brother-in-law, I'm pretty sure. I saw this one in theaters. and I feel the same about it as I felt after seeing it in the theater. I liked it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I was. Let me just say this: I definitely did like it. There were times that I was surprised, like about how some good things were and how smart they could be with the storyline. But there were definitely a few times where I had to like, because I was watching it on my computer connected to the TV, where I had to like walk up and like jiggle the mouse, and I was like, "There's still an hour in this movie. There's still 40 minutes in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's still going." And the thing is, it was only 2 hours, but it felt like a long 2 hours. It felt okay, and this like again, I will say I liked it. It felt like a cheap version of like Lord of the Rings, kind of.
I'm just gonna lay on the floor right now for a few minutes and take that in.
And now, but now that I've said that, that's like my biggest like thing. And honestly, I thought
I
about
would
it. I thought about saying that, but then I was like, no. And then I was like, I will say that, but that is the worst thing I'll ever say about this movie. It'll all be pretty good from here on out.
I would even, if you're going to compare it to Lord of the Rings, I would even compare it to The Hobbit. Like the similarities between this and The Hobbit are like huge. Like
Yeah.
the sacrificing of practical effects for the digital effects, which work really really well for the orcs. Like
Oh yeah.
the orc scenes, give me orc stuff all day. Like if this whole 2 hour movie was about these orcs, they looked so good. This is a 2016 movie, which means they are like in development in like what 2015, 2014. So like this
Yeah.
is like Thanos Thanos quality, 2 or 3 years before Thanos even came out. Like these orcs look awesome, and their story is so interesting. Like I really liked Duratan's story and his arc of like coming in and kind of questioning what's going on, and then actually like becoming. Oh, should we get into? I'm just gonna put up the spoiler warning here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Spoiler alert, guys. This is an old film, but spoilers, get on with it now, Vince.
Yeah. So anyway, him going on and kind of becoming the martyr, showing the rest of the horde that this guy that they've been following around is not like this great person to follow. So like I was all in. Every time the orcs were doing stuff, I was like sold. The problem that I had was with kind of the human stories, and also the VFX when it kind of like mashed with the humans, I didn't feel like worked all the time. Like I could just tell this movie was all shot on a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically when Ragnar, what's his name in this? Lothar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I watched a lot of Vikings, and Travis Fimmel is just doing Ragnar in this movie. He's the exact same character in this as he is in Vikings.
He is. That's something that I was gonna call out later on, but like this is literally like, oh, so Ragnar is now, on Azeroth, so
Uh-huh. But that scene specifically at the beginning when he's like hanging out with the dwarf in Ironside or whatever the name of that city was called, I can't remember what it's called. It
yeah.
just like you could see all the stuff going on in the background, and he just really stood out to me as like I could just tell it was blue, green screen. It just felt like certain scenes, not all of them, but certain scenes just felt like I feel like Star Wars Episode 1 felt, way higher quality, because like there's actually texture and stuff in these ones, but you can just tell that they kind of like shot on a green screen or blue screen and couldn't tell what was going on. And that, and then a little bit of the pacing is kind of what took me out of the film a lot of the times. It's just that everything seemed kind of rushed. Um, but they had great character moments. Like I said, they had great moments in it, and some great action, some good action. Uh, just I kind of wish this was more of just like Blizzard just doing a completely CGI movie instead of kind of this mix of CGI and
Real world.
real world stuff.
I
Other than that, I
definitely
really liked
kind of like Vince said, like I loved that the movie started out with like the scene with these two orcs, their like relationship and she's pregnant and whatever. And that was like Vince said, like what I really I was digging that the whole time. And yeah, obviously there's the orcs are going to whatever, and he's questioning his own people, and it kind of goes back and forth like that. But like exactly like Vince said, they started out with these people, and they were the ones that I really cared about the whole time. You know, she had to like Moses her baby out into the river, and like he would die as a martyr. Like there was just so much cool stuff that happened with them that again, I'll say it again. I'm with you, Vince. We could have just, dealt without the human stuff. Like, just give me the orcs. Also, do you think that
Well,
orcs kiss? How would you kiss someone with those teeth coming out? Could you even do it? That's a
They just
sorry.
rub
That
their
was just like
tusks together.
a random question that I had while I was watching.
well, like this film, like it was designed to be more like the game in a way where it's telling the story from both parties, right? Because like you have, like think about the game, it has a campaign for the humans, a campaign for the orcs, and they were trying to kind of blend that and mesh it. And I think that's where the film felt really rushed. To be super honest with you, is because like how do you tell a story of two great worlds essentially and one that's kind of like fallen apart because of like the sorcerer leader's addiction to the fell, and kind of like when you're talking about like sucking the life from living things, and like the fell is the ultimate darkness, right? That is really what like brings like that makes the orcs have to leave their homeworld, because like um I'm gonna butcher his name all of a sudden. Doltan or whatever his name is. He's just
Duratan?
Duratan. He's just like stealing the life force from everything. And
Oh
what
no,
happens?
sorry. That's
Gul'dan, right? Or no,
Gul'dan. Yeah, you're right,
Gul'dan.
Gul'dan.
Yeah, Gul'dan, he's just like stealing the life from everything. And when you steal the life from, right, like all the animals and all the living beings you can, there's like plants that get taken, and it like affects everything. So because like the fell just throws off the balance of everything. And so it's easier to relate and empathize with the orcs, and especially with the martyr couple there, essentially the chieftain and like of the frost wolves. And so it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, oh man, like this is hard, but it's crazy. I don't know. Like I get what
I'm,
you're
I'm
saying though.
getting
You'll have
I'm
to
getting serious. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
my bad. You'll have to excuse my language here and probably bleep it out. But there were just a couple times where I was like, the humans, man. Like, get them out of here. Like, geez. Give our orcs what they want. This dude's the best. Him and his wife, they need to be happy. Sorry, my bad. Keep going, Vince.
I was just gonna say I'm getting like major flashbacks to our Alita episode. Like
Yeah.
this feels very much like Alita, where it's just they have one movie to pile in so much lore and so much world building, and then try to make you care about characters and try and not like you said, Casey. It's it's really cool how they did that. Like you said, like it's or attempted to do it, like to try to make you see both sides of the story. That not everybody's bad. You know that even in this like evil orc horde, there's still some good quote unquote people. Um, still people trying or orcs trying to do good. But there's just so much going on, and so much of it is interesting, and so much of it I want to find out more
Hmm.
that they just don't have time to stick around with. And
Well,
instead I get kind of these stories of just like this love story between Lothar and Garona that I just don't really care or buy.
Yeah,
I
they're
kind of like how it ended, but that's about the extent of that relationship that I liked. I wish that love interest didn't really happen, but I do like the kind of like ending of it, of her like seemingly to have betrayed the humans after becoming so close to him. I like that. I just didn't buy the love interest between her and Lothar. And I just have to ask, what is she? Is she a human orc hybrid, or is she an orc, or like why does she look so human and not so crazy like all the other orcs?
she's like a human orc hybrid. So, and that's why
they
she
called her a
speaks their
half breed,
language as
right?
well. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
Do you
Do
know
we
what
know
this
who her
film
parents
needed?
are at
Oh,
all?
sorry.
I was just gonna say, do we know who their parents are at all? Didn't bring that up. Okay.
No, it wasn't really something. I don't know. I agree with you, Vince. Like, I got major Alita vibes, and when you brought that up, I was like, that was it. That was the vibes I was feeling. Do you know what a lot of these like video game or anime or manga like American remake movies, Hollywood remake movies need? They need to do what like kind of like they did between Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which is to create a couple of short films, like 2 to 3 minute films that give us kind of like the story. And they need to release those like on YouTube or like somewhere that's public so that you can gear up and get ready for the film. Cause like this is a huge universe, and like other video games, like if they're going to do, what was the one you were talking about? Like Left 4 Dead or whatever that you were playing, or
Oh, The Last of Us.
Last of Us. Like if they were to do that as a blockbuster movie, there has to be like, there either has to be like a plan to like make 3 movies, like the first movie being the explainer movie, the middle movie being like real wham, here it is, and then that third movie being that second movie, actually that finale type thing. But like it's really hard just to kind of drop people into a world and expect everyone to kind of feel the love that all the deep nerd fans feel, you know, like the original gamers. And like the hard part is too is this movie like is based off a series that came out in like 94, 95, and like the early 90s. So their target audience is kind of harder to grasp when World of Warcraft is completely different from the Warcraft games and campaigns. Like I think this is the most I probably ever nerd out about video games in a movie because I don't really game anymore. But like that's where I feel like the disconnect was too, is they waited a long time so they had the CGI and effects to make it, but still in the end the director of Blizzard and the fans weren't happy with it.
Oh, really? They didn't like it? A lot of the fans didn't.
Duncan Jones, who was a director, said it was fine. Like they worked really hard on it, right? But he had plans for a whole trilogy of movies. So the first one being what we saw, the second one being where the baby who is pushed down the river essentially becomes like grows up as a slave and like finds out about his orc family, and then the third one is him returning to the orcs type thing.
And
that's the idea.
That was the story of Thrall, right? And wasn't Thrall the main character of like, which one was he? Yeah, he was the main orc of Warcraft 3. So it seemed like it was kind of like getting into that story of the character that I vaguely remember. I remember more Arthas's story from Warcraft 3 than I remember Thrall's story, but
yeah, that was
so it. I think that's my problem, is apparently I needed to go and replay all the video games and catch up on the World of Warcraft lore, and then I would have been completely ready for this. Like I guarantee there's so many Easter eggs in that I just don't know. You know, like even on IMDb, when I was looking at the trivia, they were saying like this character from the movie is seen in the background, and this character in the movie from the game is seen in the background. And I was just like, I don't know who any of these people are, but the diehard fans were just like, oh look, there's so and so, you know,
right? Oh man,
yeah.
It's
so things we like. What do you love the most about the movie? What characters? I mean, I talked about Duratan and Love and Duratan. Is there any specific characters or moments that you guys just absolutely love and make this movie stand out to you?
Josh, if you're not ready, I can go.
Go ahead. I'll think about it for a second.
All right, so I like have this affinity for like Lothar, right? Like I think that he's kind of like, and I think it comes from Ragnar Lothbrok more than like being Lothar, but like it was kind of like I wanted to see how his story played out. And like obviously you have to enjoy like the main guys sometimes, like that's kind of part of it. But like what I liked was that he had this relationship with his son that like later in the movie you find out was strained, and after you see him killed, right, his son essentially sacrificed because Medivh wasn't paying attention, and like kind of like the depths of that, it's kind of like, oh well, that's interesting. And I thought that his character did really well. Like he is a leading man, he's an actor, he's, you know, he's who he needed to be. But I think that we could have used like, I don't know, like you said, a little less love story, a little more, I don't know how to describe this, but just a little bit more action in that way. I weirdly enjoyed Blackhand, who was the like kind of like that orc kind of stuck on the middle. Like he had a task to do, and he's like questioning like, do we leave behind our traditions? Do we move forward to this new world without remorse? And like, that was cool. And then the wizard kid, not like Medivh, but
a younger one.
Yeah, what's his name? I'm trying.
Khadgar.
Yeah, Khadgar. Yeah, like he was like, I enjoyed his story. I think it would have been more fascinating to have a little bit more about him, because like he left his post and like now he's like, what is he, a wandering wizard, like just kind of like learning and doing as he pleases. And like when he goes to like Medivh the Guardian's tower, like he's just snooping around in books and steals one, and like kind of like he has this thirst for knowledge, which like sets him up to be a good guardian like going forward. But it's like, well, tell us more about his backstory. And that's where I think like these short films, like if they could have done like a 2 or 3 minute video about each character beforehand, I feel like that would have set us up for a lot better success and enjoyment of this film in a lot of ways. So yeah, those are my characters I really enjoy. And as always, Medivh, that guy is crazy awesome. So I would like to see like a Medivh standalone film, like how he got consumed, like what happened, because he hasn't been really heard from in like 7 years or something like that. So
Well, because
how did he find it?
here's the thing: you're talking about like needing to develop the backstories, and I think the prime example of that is Cagnar, whatever his name is, right? They just part way through the movie, like I don't know, like 2/3 of the way or something. All of a sudden, they're in this city that exists in the sky, and I'm like, where is this place? Where has this been? And why does it exist in like the same world as these people? And he just like waltzes up there, and there's this big old cube, and they're like, wait, no, you abandoned us, which you know that he had said he'd renounced his oath or whatever. So I'm just like, wait, he's one of these people? Like, what's going on? And then the cube opens up, and he goes in and talks to the and that, even though it moved along the story, is one of those moments where I'd be like, okay, hold up. Tell me more about what is going on. What is this Sky City? Who are these people really? Like, because unless I missed a big thing, like it didn't really talk about it a lot in the movie, you know?
So this is the early Star Wars universe, to be honest with you guys. Like before anything else, this is Cloud City, where Lando will become leader of later. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, guys.
That's
But
what
yeah,
it's doing though, is it's dropping a whole bunch of just like things that could be explored that unless you play the video games are never going to be explored. And so it's just it's
right.
obviously like a franchise capable. I just kind of wish it did better, you know? I wish that more Americans would have been interested in it so we could explore all these nooks and crannies. Because, like you said, it's just like Star Wars. Star Wars, we had so many things in the original one that it just kind of like skipped over to just follow the hero's journey. And then it's just been expanding ever since. Same thing
Yeah.
could easily happen in this universe and has because World of Warcraft.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff in it. I definitely, that moment where they went up to the sky, that was like, there wasn't a ton of humor parts in this movie, but that was the one part that kind of made me laugh was when they went up and, you know, there's that big thing and suddenly the cube like ripples or whatever and there's the door and he's like, do I go in? And the guy's like, I don't know. That's never happened before. It's like, definitely made me chuckle. It was good. And then there was a lot, and you know, a lot of times it can seem mindless or whatever, but there was really a lot of really good action and fight scenes in this movie. And especially with orcs and humans, even though like there were a lot of times where I agreed with Vince where that part of the CGI could kind of stick out like a sore thumb, like there were a lot of times where I was like, dang, like it seems like kind of at times it was like it seems kind of good, like kind of seamless. These kind of fight scenes that are going on between the orcs and the humans, they look solid. So that definitely enthralled me. There was a lot of cool stuff that went on in those moments.
Do you know what I really loved? Like speaking of the fight scenes really fast, is how like Lothar, like he like thinks it through as he's fighting them, where everyone else is like trying to brute strength fight them, and he like it's like, oh, you have to fight them with technique and all of this. And like when he's like attacking these orcs, like how it's not just like, oh, I'm slicing you and attacking you randomly. It's like well thought out, and then he passes that knowledge onward. And I think like it kind of shows like how fast they had to adapt their fighting techniques. Like first of the movie, we see him introduced to the boomstick, and then by the end, like where they're at the gate, going back to the main city, it is like, oh, we have all of these boomsticks, and the soldiers have been trained how to use them because they're effective against the orcs. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I also liked the fight between Lothar and Blackhand at the end because it is exactly that, Casey. It's like an old samurai movie. It's like the standoff between the two samurais, you know. And then it's just one quick move where Lothar doesn't try to outstrength him or outspeed him or anything. He just knows the right, you know, angle to manipulate to manipulate it and become the unexpected, to go between his legs and chop him from underneath. and then just finish them off. And then I also loved in that scene not only like how that callback to samurai stuff, but also a glimpse into the culture of the orcs that you keep getting with those fights. Like when Duratan and Gul'dan have their like war ritual fight as well, and how just the orcs respect strength, and how like their culture is built on that to the point where even though Gul'dan is easily the most powerful, the fact that he's not relying just on his physical strength and he's cheating with magic is enough for them to just like turn their back completely on him. Like I'm just so interested to get more of these orcs and what their culture is and what's going on and how did their world get destroyed, which we get an idea it was the Fel. Gul'dan's manipulate the Fel to destroy the world, but like I don't know, how did him and Medivh, get connected? There's questions I want answered.
Well, I thought about this for a long time now. I was like curious if it was like the Force. Is it like kind of like where people are drawn to it and they can sense it and read it and they like because Medivh's character is like super interesting to me because he's like this guardian, right? Like he's out there doing his shenanigans or wizardry or whatever, and he's just learning knowledge. And like it reminded me of like, and I'm gonna go back to kind of another fan film right here that we had talked about, which was the Dark Crystal. How the old like protector of the oh gosh, I just forgot what they're called. The
Skeksis?
the Skeksis. No, not the Skeksis. The little
Oh,
people. Um,
Gelfling?
the Gelflings. Like she's just like the Skeksis show up and give her like, oh, here's the universe. Like you can travel and you can explore and you can see more. Like what did Medivh stumble
Audra.
upon? Oh yeah, Audra or whatever her name is. But like, what did Medivh discover that like sent him into the Fel? Like that sent him exploring to find this terrible
Yeah.
orc, and that sent him out to like explore and link up and suddenly become like this sketchy freaking demon when he jumps in and changes the good magic pool to the Fel, and like it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Which that brings me kind of my favorite thing about the movie, other than everything else I've gushed on already. What I found most impressive was just the visuals and their commitment to how the game looks. Like green orcs, they gave it a reason that why the orcs were green. Remind me, were the orcs in the first one, Warcraft 1, were they green, or were they kind of the? I'm looking it up.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember either. It's been too long. I'm pulling it up real quick just to check.
Because I know in Warcraft 2 they were green.
They were green, but I just thought it was cool, like their commitment to this style. The dwarves were computer generated dwarves, and they look like in the game. The orcs, they don't look like the orcs from Lord of the Rings. They look exactly like the orcs in the game. Like just their commitment to, this is the world we're creating. We have created. We're not going to make this more palatable, quote unquote, more palatable to the public. We're going to deliver a Warcraft movie that is kind of a tribute to what we've created, and hopefully people will jump on board, but we're not going to sacrifice any of that to make more people come see it or hope that more people come see it. I thought that was awesome. Like the orcs look great. The humans' armor looks awesome, which they actually made some like those armor, like those are practical armor sets. They did shrink them down for sure compared to the video game. The armor in the video games are huge, but then like the look of the magic, like when Medivh does like that cool blue orb that he like appears in his hand, and then just like the swirling blue that comes up around him just looks really visually pleasing. Like I watched this one in 4K HDR on my TV, and it just looked so good. I was just really impressed that they could pull that off. They could pull off what I remember Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 looking like in my brain, but it doesn't look anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it was just fun. I think that's what like for me is like kind of like I would never put myself in as like a hardcore like Warcraft universe fan, but like I enjoyed it enough that it made me nostalgic for the game, right? And it made me nostalgic for that thing, and it didn't feel so unfamiliar. Like, yes, it was a rushed film, but holy cow, it was a fun watch. And like Josh, like I'm sorry you felt like this 2 hour film like drug on forever, because for me it was like back to back fun. Like that's what it was. Is and maybe it just comes from my basic knowledge from the game, but like it was fun for me. And like it like kind of like Vince was saying, I felt like this film was too short. I felt like it needed more. And like I could have done another 4 hours. I wish they would do like a Jones cut, like the Snyder cut of this film. Like that's what I want, like it's something like this. Because if they released a 4 hour version of this film, you bet your butt I'd plant myself down and watch that sucker on a Saturday.
And if they released a 4 hour version of this film, you can bet your butt that I would not do that. But I'm okay with both of those. Those are both acceptable answers. So.
That's funny that you bring that up because the director actually mentioned that he stated, this is on the IMDb again, stated that his initial cut of the movie was about 40 minutes longer. However, he denied that cutting out those 40 minutes were solely responsible for pacing issues and has put rumors of an extended version to rest. He says, trying to make a movie like Warcraft, you get killed by a death of 1,000 cuts, not just editing cuts. You go through a writing stage right up to the deadline of shooting the thing. You lose ideas in the writing process, then sets change for whatever reason and notes come in. You're changing things around, a 3.5 year process. You get these little changes which are constantly course correcting you. When you make those little changes, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you keep making those changes, suddenly you're basically spending all of your time trying to work out how to patch up what has been messed around with. And then on top of that, those scenes get cut out because they cease to exist because the effects work after all those changes never get done. And so basically he's like, there's this big long quote on IMDb saying, I had 40 more minutes. I would have loved to do more, but just because of the process of the beast, we couldn't keep up. Like we couldn't make those visual scenes. We couldn't do these things. So even if I wanted to do a director's cut, he's like, I couldn't because we never had the time to make the scenes, like to go in and do the VFX on the scenes, which is a bummer. But that idea is out there, Casey. You're not wrong.
Would have been beautiful. That's all I have to say about that. Do you know what could be kind of cool with a film like this? And I feel like I'm hogging some attention here today. I apologize, but like something like, for instance, like a 2 film shot, right? Like to where like you have like an hour and a half film, but twice. One told from the orc side, one told from the like the human side of like more of it, like what happened the day the orcs arrived through the portal. Like from the humans, like the orc side, we have that story, and like we get it more focused on that couple and their fight for their Frostwolf clan, and then like the humans, and like they're throwing these adjustments out because like how did we end up with like these flying birds? Like do they move faster than the Millennium Falcon? Like how do they get around this earth, right, and like this planet? And so like it could be cool. I think it would be a hard sell for a studio, but like something like this where you have the ability to tell 2 stories, and then when you release the DVD, you're buying 2 movies so you can watch them together, or do like the extended edition where it's all cut together somehow in like a very beautifully shot film overall. But I don't know. I like fanboy Casey is over here just wanting more Warcraft. Let's be real.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I do have to say that the movie worked. The story they told worked, there's just parts that I didn't love as much as other parts. But when it comes right down to telling a cohesive narrative, like their points were made, the dramatic points that needed to happen to set up the sequel happened. Just some parts didn't work for me and other parts did. And there's just a lot going on, like we were saying. So I don't know. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and I was actually really excited to watch it. I kept telling you, Casey, when you brought it up, I'm like, yeah, give me an excuse to watch this again. I remember liking it in the theater. I want to have an excuse to look at these orcs again.
All right, Casey, here's Here's that was a good idea with the whole like both sides of it. So I've got a pitch for you, Casey.
All right.
You make a movie based on Age of Empires, and you do it like you said, but you split it from the three different civilizations' point of view in one big war, and then you can release three movies, one based on like the Roman side, one based on like the Egyptian side, one based on the Norse side. That's your that's going to be your big breakthrough as a movie writer and director, Case.
Oh man. Um. Bill Gates, we need to talk, buddy. I got a lot of ideas and no
Going
money
to,
to do anything with.
going to Gates to back you up, huh?
Right to the top.
I don't even think Ensemble Studios, which is the studios that produced Age of Empires, is around anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, probably not.
No, no. Well, I could go for that. Like you've got me thinking now. So here we are. Um, gosh, guys, I don't know. I could talk about this like randomly for hours. Were there any scenes that really just stuck out as like this was an important scene, and I'm glad they had it versus like a scene that you would have cut personally?
I don't really understand what was going on with that old lady in the dark portal cube thing.
In the Heavenly City.
Yeah, I just had a hard time following that for some reason. Like, why was she important to tell him to follow? Like, didn't she just tell him to follow the light and that was about it? Like, did she really give him any direction other than a vague statement? I don't know. I guess I just missed what the point of that story beat was.
Well, and couldn't have that like this is where I come in. Like, couldn't that have been done like through a random raven or something, or like
Yeah.
he when he's at the library at the Guardian's place, or when he's like
I guess,
researching the magic and has all those notes? Like, couldn't that have been
yeah.
done some other way?
I guess I'd have to watch it again and pay a little more attention to what she said because it was she seemed to be possessed by the fell somehow. Um, but no, there's nothing off the top of my head that I think that like, oh, I hated this so much. I wish they would have removed it. But I don't feel like that about anything. Um, I don't know. No, I think it was fine. I don't.
I don't think I had anything like that either. One thing that I did like, Vince already kind of touched on it before, was that they had a reason for the certain orcs to be green, which was like when the guy could like infect them with the fell and like it would change how they would behave and what they would do and stuff. And I thought that that was really cool, both like the visual part of it as well as like having a real clear indicator of, hey, like watch out, like this certain stuff. So they did a lot of good stuff with different colors in the movie. Obviously, like when they advertised the film, they had that very strong like red and blue thing for like the orcs and the humans, and they kind of kept that up. But it was a lot more of like the blue kind of became the light and the green kind of became the dark, because it less became about orcs versus humans as much as it was like we have to defeat the fell or whatever, and we have to cast it out. So definitely a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of sort of like little details that if we check it out, it gets even deeper. So like I said, there were definitely times where I was like, man, there's this much left of the movie, but there was also a lot of stuff that drew me in to say that I definitely did like the movie.
I'm so happy you enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, like I was kind of worried bringing this one up because I know it's like one of those cheesy video game type things, and I'm not making fun of you here, Vince, but it's probably like when you were like the Dark Crystal for so long, right? And we were kind of like,
Mhm.
the Dark Crystal or Waterworld, and I'm over here like Warcraft, guys. We gotta watch Warcraft. It's like. Like this video game from the 90s. It was amazing. It became the World of Warcraft, cultural phenomenon, whatever. And it's kind of a cult thing, though. And so, yeah, like I'm glad that overall like it was enjoyed and it had good parts to it. Like this film to me was not a failure. It should have gotten like to be honest with you, like there were rumors that they were going to create the second film primarily for the Chinese audience, meaning it would have been a lot different. And I would have went for that too. Like I'm not going to lie to you, I would have totally watched Warcraft made for the Chinese audience. Would have been there 100%. Josh, just going back to kind of what you covered right there and kind of what Vince has covered, like where they had a reason for the green versus kind of like the what like human skin colored
adorable.
orcs. Yeah. What was kind of interesting to me, and I want to like, I have to say, Medivh was like a really curious figure the entire film. But like when they were in that canyon and he like electrocuted it down, or like wherever he electrocuted, and like the orcs that were cursed by the fell like disappeared versus the ones that weren't. I
Yeah.
love that part. Like that was super rad. And I was gonna bring it up earlier, but like I had to bring it up now because like that's pretty tight. Like being like, oh, recognizing the reason for why, that Gul'dan like was against or Dul'dan was against Gul'dan. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like he recognized the real fault in the fell, I'd say. So
Mhm.
oh, sorry guys, I could keep nerding out about random sections of this film. But is there anything else you guys want to bring up before we kind of bring this podcast to a close?
I was just looking, kind of browsing the internet to see like where this ranks as compared to other video game movies.
Mhm.
And just from the little bit that I looked at here, I clicked on 3 or 4 different articles, and it's always in their top 10. I can't think of off the top of my head, except for maybe like the 1990s Mortal Kombat movie, because that's got extreme amount of nostalgia for me that I liked better. Like I can't think of any other video game movie that I've really enjoyed more than this one, or as much as this one. I don't know. I just don't feel like, we talked about this a little bit last time. Video game movies are not great. They never are.
Mhm.
But some of them stand out as not bad either. And this is definitely one of them that stands out more on the good side than the why am I watching this? Why was this made side? Like Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat 2, Annihilation. Why was that movie made? It's garbage, This one is fun. This is one that, like, if it came out, like, if I was watching TV and I was, like, scanning channels and it popped up, I would sit back and watch it again. Or I would be, like, telling my friends, hang up a minute. I want to hurry and watch Gul'dan fight Duratan. We're almost to that scene. I want to watch this. Or I want to watch Gul'dan suck the soul out of these guys just because visually it's so pleasing. I don't know. I can't think of any other video game movie that I would, other than the Mortal Kombat movie, that I'd like to like sit back and rewatch. So that says something about it to me.
Yeah. That's good. I'm really happy. I'm really happy. So good. What about you, Josh? Any last thoughts?
Maybe also the original Resident Evil movie. That one is just the original though.
I think I'm good. I think I've gotten most of it out there. Just definitely sort of just for you guys who are listening, just let us know about your favorite video game movies. I mean, there's definitely a lot of them out there. Let us know if this one is the best one, and if not, which one is the best one, because we'd love to check that one out as well. Like, definitely give us a recommendation if you think that we're kind of being naive here and there's one that's just ridiculously better than this and we have to watch it or something. So let us know on our social medias, or if you know us, just text us and we'll check it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to know how wrong I am about this movie.
Yeah.
Because I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that just are like Casey, just absolutely love it and just can't believe that I'm so naive when it comes to the franchise, Because I am. I 100% admit how naive I am when it comes to this franchise.
Well, I think like being honest, like I have a lot more to learn, right? Like it's kind of been one of those things, like since I watched it originally for, when I was doing the movie review, and then I was like, let's do this for the podcast. Like I've like randomly found myself like thinking about it again, and this happens every time after I watch it, like wanting to buy a gaming computer and just buy the trilogy. Like I have the second one on my laptop over here, but like the last time I pulled it out was probably last year, and probably played like 2 campaigns and called it a day, put my computer back away, and haven't looked at it since. So yeah, like it would be cool to find out from folks like what other good, video game to movies there are, and like did Warcraft deserve better? Like I want to know, like, do you think that Warcraft was judged too harshly because it was Warcraft, it was a fanboy, it was a nerdy thing? Like let's be like super real. Like certain games, they have a lot of love in the mainstream media because they like maybe push forward an issue, or like they resonate better with people. And like all Warcraft was designed to do was for people to fight. That's what it was, like for things to fight, and it was fun, and it like allowed you to think a little critically. And so I'm curious, like, yeah, I'm rambling on again, but yeah, love it. Thank you for humoring me with watching this film. All right, guys. Well, that's the podcast. We're talking here about Warcraft. Like we said, what was a good video game film that you enjoyed that we might want to talk about, we might want to watch, and you might want to discuss with us. Like, let us know on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can even comment on our website, if you really want to do it. And like Josh said, if you know us, send us a text. My number is, just kidding, not giving that out on the podcast because privacy is important. But anyhow, guys, thank you so much as always for tuning into the Pause Where and Play podcast, and share this with your friends. Do it for the Horde. Have a good one, guys.
Leroy Jenkins.